Before it became the roaring monster that haunted the highways of California, the 1955 Peterbilt 281 was nothing more than a tired oil hauler from Union Oil, a forgotten machine rusting under the sun. Then came a young filmmaker named Steven Spielberg, who looked at that old truck and didn't see scrap metal. He saw a face of evil. The Duel truck wasn't just a vehicle. It was a living predator made of steel and smoke, chasing actor Dennis Weaver for 90 minutes straight and rewriting the rules of cinematic terror. But why did Spielberg choose this specific truck among 7 candidates? What made its split windshield and round headlights feel like eyes that could stare into your soul? And what really happened to the real truck after that final horrifying plunge off the cliff? Tonight, we're not just talking about a movie prop. We're unearthing a legend buried under layers of rust, oil, and mystery. This is 20 weird facts about the trucker's 1955 Peterbilt 281 Duel, the secrets Hollywood never wanted you to know. Number 20, the casting call of monsters. Before a single frame of Duel was shot, Spielberg held what he jokingly called a casting call for monsters. 7 trucks from junkyards and rental lots were lined up under the California sun. Each was photographed, revved, and filmed from every possible angle. Spielberg didn't care about horsepower or model year. He cared about personality. The Freightliner looked too polished, the Kenworth too bulky, but the Peterbilt 281 had something the others didn't: a face. Its round headlights glared like cold, predatory eyes. The split windshield gave it a furrowed brow. And when the sun hit its dented grille just right, it looked as though it was sneering. "That's it," Spielberg said. "That's the face of evil." From that moment, the Peterbilt wasn't just a truck. It was the film's leading villain. Spielberg had found his monster, forged not from flesh and blood, but from rust, smoke, and pure menace. Number 19, born to haul, reborn to hunt. Long before it terrified audiences, the Duel truck lived a humble life, hauling petroleum for Union Oil. Painted in bright corporate orange and blue, it was once a proud symbol of industry, not insanity. By the time Spielberg's team found it abandoned in a desert graveyard, its colors had faded, its chrome had dulled, and the smell of old diesel clung to its skin like sweat. The filmmakers stripped off the logos, peeled away the paint, and uncovered the raw steel underneath. The transformation was deliberate. They wanted a truck with no identity, no trace of humanity, a predator with no origin and no name. Some of the old Union Oil paint still bled through, creating mottled patches of orange beneath the grime. It gave the truck a diseased look, as if it had been rotting on the highway for decades. Spielberg loved it. He said the truck should look like it had been stalking drivers long before the movie began. Number 18, the makeover from hell. Once Spielberg chose the 1955 Peterbilt 281, his crew spent 3 full days turning it from an aging hauler into a nightmare on wheels. The truck wasn't just dirtied, it was diseased. Mechanics splattered used oil across its hood, poured real mud over its frame, and smeared animal blood near the grill to make it look like something that had already killed before. Dead bugs were glued to the windshield, baked under the desert sun until they looked fused with the glass. Every dent and scrape was carefully planned. Each drop of grease told a story. The goal was simple: make it so ugly, so filthy, so alive that the audience could almost smell the diesel and decay through the screen. When Spielberg saw the finished monster, he smiled. "Perfect," he said. "No one will ever want to drive behind it." And he was right. On set, and even crew members refused to park near the truck. Number 17, the tag axle illusion. Most viewers never noticed it, but the Duel truck was hiding a clever trick beneath its monstrous frame. The Peterbilt 281 was originally a single-drive model, lighter and less powerful than it appeared on screen. To make it look like a heavyweight beast, the production team added what's known as a tag axle, a fake second-drive axle that didn't actually power the wheels. This simple modification made the truck look more massive, giving the illusion of unstoppable strength. It was pure cinematic deception. Even veteran truckers were fooled until they saw how the rear wheels spun out of sync. Spielberg loved the effect. It made the truck seem like a predator whose muscles were always flexing, ready to pounce. Interestingly, this fake axle also made stunt driving easier. With less true weight to control, the crew could execute tighter turns and faster chases without blowing the engine or brakes. It was a perfect balance of illusion and engineering, the kind of filmmaking magic that turns machinery into mythology. Number 16. The Roar from Hell. Beneath the Peterbilt's rusted hood beat the heart of a beast, a Caterpillar turbocharged diesel engine, though some fans later insisted it was a Cummins. Whatever the truth, the engine's growl was unforgettable. It didn't sound like machinery, it sounded alive. Each rev felt like the snarl of something ancient and angry, echoing across the desert canyons. But that sound came at a cost. The engine overheated constantly under the California sun. Mechanics worked in shifts, stopping filming every few hours just to cool it down. They poured gallons of oil and coolant into the system every day. At one point, the engine seized completely, silencing the monster for 2 days while it was rebuilt on set. Spielberg could have replaced the sound in post-production, but he refused. "That noise," he said, "is the monster." Every cough, every sputter, every deep roar you hear in Duel came straight from that suffering engine, a soundtrack of real mechanical agony. Number 15. The 13-speed nightmare. Driving the Duel truck wasn't just difficult, it was torture. The Peterbilt used a Fuller RTO 913 transmission with 13 forward gears, a system so complex that most stunt drivers refused to touch it after the first test. The clutch was brutally heavy, the shift pattern twisted like a puzzle, and one wrong move could grind the gears into metallic agony. Stunt driver Kerry Lofton was one of the few who mastered it. He memorized the double-clutch rhythm, timing every move to keep the engine alive through the desert's steep climbs. After a day of filming, his left leg cramped so badly he had to be carried off set. Ironically, some real truckers later mocked that story in the comments of fan forums. "Anyone who can't handle a 13-speed," one wrote, "isn't a real driver." Maybe so, but even the toughest truckers weren't doing 60-mile chase scenes on narrow canyon roads inches from another car. Spielberg once said that the gearbox itself was part of the performance. It screamed, it groaned, it suffered, and the audience felt every shift. Number 14. The illusion of speed. For a film built on the terror of being chased, there was one major problem. The truck wasn't that fast. The 1955 Peterbilt could barely hit 65 miles per hour, while Dennis Weaver's Plymouth Valiant could easily do 90. Spielberg needed the illusion of unstoppable speed, not mechanical reality. To fix this, he and cinematographer Jack Marta used classic tricks of perception. They undercranked the camera, shooting at a slower frame rate so that when played back, the footage appeared faster. They also chose low angles, tight lenses, and downhill shots to exaggerate velocity. Even the sound design helped. The roar of the diesel was pitched higher in the mix to suggest strain and fury. In reality, Weaver often had to slow down so the truck could catch him. Yet in the finished film, no one notices. The Peterbilt seems to defy physics, closing in like a predator immune to exhaustion. Spielberg once said, "The truck didn't need speed, it had presence." And that presence was more terrifying than any horsepower number. Number 13. The Face of Evil. When Spielberg called the Peterbilt the Face of Evil, he meant it literally. He spent days walking around different trucks, holding his hands up like a camera frame, studying which one looked most alive when seen from the front. The Peterbilt's round headlights became eyes, the split windshield formed a brow, and the crooked bumper looked like a twisted grin. The production team enhanced the effect. They tilted the headlights inward just slightly, giving the truck a squinting, angry look. They bent the bumper and dulled all chrome to remove any trace of friendliness. Even the hood ornament was twisted, as if the truck itself had sneered at the world for too long. Spielberg didn't see it as a machine. He saw it as a character. From the front, it's angry, he said. From the side, it's hunting. From below, it's victorious. By treating metal as flesh, he transformed the Peterbilt into cinema's first true vehicle villain, a monster that didn't need eyes to stare you down. Number 12. The License Plate Trophies. Look closely at the truck's front bumper in Duel, and you'll see something chilling. A row of old, filthy license plates from different states, bolted on like hunting trophies. Spielberg added them deliberately. Each plate hinted at a victim, a story, a driver who didn't make it out alive. California, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona. A trail of death stretching across the American West. The plates were attached unevenly, bent and dirty, as if the truck had collected them one by one after each kill. They weren't symmetrical, and that was the point. This wasn't decoration, it was a ritual. Spielberg wanted the truck to feel ancient, as though it had been preying on travelers for years before Dennis Weaver ever crossed its path. Some fans later noted that the plates were rearranged between shots, creating minor continuity errors. But in a way, that made it even creepier, as if the truck's trophies moved on their own, shifting from one kill to the next. Number 11, the progressive decay. The Peterbilt didn't just look old, it aged as the film went on. Spielberg and the art department designed a decay schedule, specifying exactly how dirty, cracked, and damaged the truck should appear in each scene. At the beginning, it looked merely worn out. By the end, it was a grotesque monster coated in oil, grime, and roadkill. Every day, crew members poured used motor oil over the hood, rubbed real dust from the desert onto its frame, and even pressed dead insects into the grill. They smeared butcher's blood along the sides for added realism. Windshield chips and rust spots were added progressively to match the growing intensity of the chase. By the time filming wrapped, the truck looked diseased. Some crew members refused to touch it without gloves. It wasn't just prop work, it was transformation art. The deeper Dennis Weaver's fear grew, the uglier the truck became, as though both man and machine were decaying together on the road to madness. Number 10. The faceless driver. One of the most haunting decisions Spielberg made was to never show the truck driver's face. Officially, veteran stuntman Carrie Lofton handled most of the driving, but Spielberg wanted the truck itself to be the villain, not the man behind the wheel. The driver appears only in fragments, an arm waving, a boot stepping down, a silhouette in the diner. Nothing more. This anonymity gave the truck a supernatural quality. It wasn't driven by rage or greed. It was rage itself. In some shots, multiple people even took turns behind the wheel, yet no one would ever know. The facelessness blurred the line between human and machine until they seemed fused into one creature. As one fan later wrote, "It wasn't a man driving the truck, it was the truck driving itself." That eerie choice turned a simple chase movie into a psychological nightmare, paving the way for every sentient machine that followed, from Christine to the Terminator. Number 9. From TV movie to legend. It's hard to believe that Duel, the film that launched Steven Spielberg's career, started out as a low-budget TV movie. Shot in just 13 days for ABC's Movie of the Week, it was never meant for theaters, but the network executives were stunned by the result. The tension, pacing, and sheer craftsmanship were far beyond television standards. When Universal decided to release it theatrically overseas, Spielberg had a problem. The film was too short. He returned to shoot new scenes, including the school bus and railroad sequences, to stretch it to 90 minutes. The challenge? The original truck had already been destroyed. He had to use similar but different models and match the grime and rust by hand. The gamble paid off. European audiences devoured it. Critics hailed it as a masterpiece of minimalism, and Universal realized they had found their next big director. Duel wasn't just a TV success, it was the spark that lit Spielberg's path to Jaws, Close Encounters, and Hollywood immortality. Number 8. The Survivor Truck. While the hero truck met its fiery doom at the bottom of a canyon, not all of Spielberg's monsters died that day. A second Peterbilt, built in 1960, was used for backup stunts, and it survived. After filming, it was quietly sold to a private owner who had no idea of its cinematic history. For years, it hauled freight across California, a relic hiding in plain sight. In the 1990s, a film historian recognized it by the chassis number and distinctive grille pattern. What followed was a meticulous restoration. The rust, the dents, even the fake grime were all recreated exactly as they appeared in Duel. Fans dubbed it the Survivor. Today, that truck appears at car shows and museums, often drawing more attention than modern supercars. One fan once said, "When it rolls past, people instinctively move out of the way." Decades later, the beast that once haunted the screen still commands fear, proof that legends made of steel never really die. Number 7. The Cliff of No Return. The truck's death scene, that unforgettable plunge into the canyon, was 100% real. No miniatures, no CGI, no second chances. Spielberg and his crew used a single truck, rigged with cameras and remote steering, and drove it straight off the edge of Mystery Mesa in California's Vasquez Canyon. The stunt was terrifyingly precise. There was no backup vehicle. If they missed the shot, it was over. The The truck roared forward, its engine screaming, then exploded into a fiery rain of metal and diesel. What most viewers don't know is that Spielberg mixed in the sound of an animal dying, an echoing shriek layered under the crash, to give the machine a final haunting breath. For years, pieces of the wreckage remained scattered in the canyon, discovered by hikers and film fans alike. The site has since become a pilgrimage spot for Duel enthusiasts, a sacred ground where Spielberg's first monster met its end. Number 6. The Forgotten Fleet. Most people think Duel used just one truck, but in reality, there was an entire fleet, each one slightly different, each one customized to resemble the same mechanical demon. When Spielberg returned to shoot new scenes for the theatrical release, the original Peterbilt had already been destroyed, forcing him to find substitutes. A 1960 Peterbilt and even a 351 model were brought in. Their grills were reshaped, headlights adjusted, and every inch of bodywork covered in matching rust and grime. The production team worked tirelessly to maintain visual continuity, painting and dirtying each vehicle by hand. Still, if you freeze the film frame by frame, the differences are there. A mismatched window here, a shifted license plate there. Fans later called these vehicles the Duel Fleet, phantom trucks that appeared and vanished across versions of the movie. Some were recycled into other productions or sold for parts, forgotten by history. But together, they formed one terrifying illusion, a monster that could never die, reborn through its copies. Number 5. The Rusted Skin Mystery. Few details in Duel sparked as much debate as the truck's color. Was it rust, primer, or carefully crafted paintwork? The truth lies somewhere in between. The Peterbilt's body was layered with 7 different coats: red oxide primer, gray undercoat, patches of actual rust, and chemical treatments that made the metal corrode in real time. The art department wanted it to look as though someone had tried to restore the truck years ago, then gave up halfway. Each panel told a different story. One side faded, another peeling, another dripping with oxidized streaks. Under certain light, you could see the layers shimmering like diseased skin. To this day, no one has perfectly replicated the texture. Even the surviving truck's restorers disagree on what was natural and what was artificial. That uneven versus modeled finish wasn't an accident. It was deliberate decay. Spielberg once said, "The truck shouldn't just look old, it should look cursed." Number 4. The Mystery Mesa Myth. For decades, fans have debated the true location of the truck's final plunge. Most believe it happened at Mystery Mesa in Vasquez Canyon north of Los Angeles, but others claim it was filmed somewhere entirely different. The confusion comes from overlapping location names, shifting land ownership, and erosion that has since reshaped the area. Some local historians have spent years comparing mountain ridges and rock patterns seen in the film with modern drone photos. Their conclusion: the site Spielberg used may no longer even exist in its original form. Development and weather have altered it beyond recognition. Still, the legend endures. Die-hard fans make pilgrimages every year, searching for fragments of twisted steel rumored to remain buried in the sand. Whether it's Mystery Mesa or another nameless cliff, that site has become sacred, a graveyard for Hollywood's first mechanical villain. Number 3. Held together by faith and wire. By the time filming ended, the Duel truck was falling apart, literally. The mechanical failures were endless. The transmission broke down twice, the brakes burned out from the steep downhill runs, and the steering box developed dangerous play. Mechanics patched it together with whatever they had: wire, duct tape, and prayer. The heat was merciless. Tires exploded, radiators cracked, and power steering fluid leaked like blood. Yet Spielberg turned every failure into fuel for the story. When the truck sputtered, he filmed it. When the brakes screamed, he kept rolling. Those sounds became part of the film's raw realism. Crew members later joked that by the final week, the truck was half machine, half miracle. The irony was perfect. A movie about a vehicle possessed by evil was itself driven by a machine barely holding on to life. Number 2. The Deadly Distance. The scariest moments in Duel weren't about explosions or crashes, they were about proximity. Spielberg used long lenses to compress the distance between Dennis Weaver's Plymouth and the Peterbilt, making it look as though the truck was just inches away. In reality, the vehicles were often separated by dozens of feet, but the camera transformed safety into terror. To achieve that suffocating tension, Spielberg often shot from inside the Plymouth, framing the truck's grille so it filled the entire rear window. The result was claustrophobic, an unstoppable wall of steel bearing down on the audience. Weaver performed many of these sequences himself, without a stunt double. His fear on screen wasn't acting, it was instinct. Crew members later said the truck's presence was so overwhelming that even off-camera they could feel it behind them. One recalled, "When that grille appeared in the mirror, your heartbeat changed." Spielberg's genius wasn't in making the truck move faster, it was in making it feel closer than death itself. Number 1. The Shape-Shifting Demon. For the most obsessive fans, the strangest discovery came decades later, when they watched Duel frame by frame. The truck didn't stay the same. Its rust patterns shifted, license plates changed states, headlights appeared and vanished. At one point, the entire grille looked different. Was it a continuity error or something more sinister? In truth, these were the inevitable inconsistencies caused by using multiple trucks. But Spielberg didn't try to hide them. He embraced them. Let it feel unstable, he reportedly told his editor. It should look alive, like it's changing every time you look away. That decision gave the Peterbilt an eerie, supernatural aura. The inconsistencies became part of its mythology, a machine that refused to remain fixed in form, like a demon morphing to match its victim's fear. By the film's end, it's no longer just a truck. It's a shape-shifting nightmare, the first monster ever born from metal and gasoline. Before we reveal the final truth, take a second to breathe. If stories like this fascinate you, where Hollywood meets horsepower and myth, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments which fact from Duel shocked you the most. Because here's the twist, the real horror of Duel isn't the truck itself. It's the realization that something so ordinary, so familiar, could become a vessel for terror. Spielberg didn't invent the fear, he uncovered it. Beneath the grime and rust, the Peterbilt 281 reflected something universal, our fear of being hunted by what we don't understand. Over 50 years later, that roar still echoes. The truck's shadow still haunts film history, inspiring generations of mechanical monsters, from Christine to Mad Max, Fury Road, but none ever matched the raw simplicity of Duel. In the end, the 1955 Peterbilt 281 wasn't just a vehicle, it was the first machine in cinema to feel alive. It wasn't powered by diesel, it was powered by obsession, by paranoia, by fear. A rusty demon born on the American highway, reminding us that monsters don't always have faces, sometimes they have license plates.